Hello, this is Mike. In this screencast, we're at the tools section of the social media planning cycle. And I want to talk about one of the most fundamental elements that drives any tool or platform that we might choose to use. The subject is content. What our Twitter feed or Facebook page or blog actually contains. I want to think about why content matters so much, present a very simple roadmap to help you generate and manage content, and reflect very briefly on what I think makes effective content. So to begin, let's think about why the old adage still works. Content is king. Content is, of course, what your blog or Facebook page or whatever platform you're using, it's what it has to say. But there are a number of other reasons why we should think about content. Remember, we're in a world of Web 2, and there's no point in publishing and broadcasting material if no one actually finds it. So, first and foremost, content, regularly updated, refreshed, and interesting content is what gets us found. It's what the search engine spiders are looking for when returning pages in, for example, a list of Google hits. So your content is pivotal to people finding your web presence, whatever form it may take. The second element of it is regularly refreshed content. I'm a blogger and I go through fits and starts. I have phases where I'm much more enthusiastic than at other times. Now, if you've got a corporate side in particular, an organizational side of any form, and it isn't regularly maintained, if it hasn't been a post for weeks, it's unlikely to get people to come back. So fresh content is very important. Content isn't just about stuff that's there. It has to be aligned to our strategic objectives, and it's what says who we are. So if the aim is to build sales and develop relationships, if you want to establish expertise or thought leadership in a particular area, content is absolutely crucial to relationships and reputation. And the last reason I think it's important, although this list is by no means extensive, content builds awareness and extends geography when it's shared. Social media allow us, much more than any other format in history, to communicate on a global scale. So really good content which stands a chance of going viral, helps us spread our messages across relevant networks across the world, helps us overcome space and time. So good content, particularly content that can go viral, is what's going to get our message out there and get us known. If we think about this in terms of just some of the main content platforms, well, on Twitter, you are what you tweet. So whether you're tweeting or retweeting other people's posts, high volume of posts is needed, concise, firmly focused, very much on message, in order to say, this is me, this is who I am. As a guide, if you haven't got 10 tweets a day to make as an organization, don't bother. I mean, it really is about volume. Short messages and lots of it will extend reach. On Facebook, you are what you share. This is a more selective medium than Twitter. Facebook is all about producing content. It's really micro-blogging, but a little bit bigger and more sophisticated. It's about creating content in your microblog that people will want to share and spread. So this is about that potential to extend reach again. So a couple of status updates a day for an organization is the absolute minimum if you want to generate uh, content that will extend your global reach. On YouTube, you are what you show people. Yeah, you need similar rates of posting here to Facebook, at least 2 videos a day to get you started. This is about showing your message. It's a broadcast media, and it's about saying, okay, this is what our organization is all about, and inviting comment. and liking behaviors. I've said this many times. There's no point in having comments disabled in YouTube. You're not a social medium then, it's just being used like broadcast TV on a cheap scale. You need to have people able to engage in a conversation with you about the videos you're posting. So think about it as interactive TV at its most global. On LinkedIn, well, you are who you connect with. Although this is less resource hungry, and some people reuse their Facebook and Twitter posts for this, this is about individual and organizational branding. It's about associating with people. And so again, people are not going to want to associate with you if you don't regularly post content. If you're on LinkedIn and you haven't updated it for weeks, you're probably no point in being there. You're not networking with anyone. So, you need content that will stimulate others to interact with you. It's about wanting to be seen with people on a professional level. It's about peer association. So all of these different channels can say different things about you, but they need content. They're content hungry. So what you need is a strategy that will help you manage content. I put this together by blending one or two different models, but I call it the content roadmap. And it has 5 stages: auditing the content you have, selecting topics that you want to publish, collating the content, creating a house style or tone of voice, and having a realistic publishing schedule. So let me just make a few comments on each step in this diagram. First of all, the first stage of the departure point on my roadmap is the content audit. Let's just take as an example the idea that you're going to start a blog. Step 1 is about finding out the content you already have in-house and the content you haven't got. Um, you need to, what can we say? What can we put out there now? What are we going to have to create from scratch? You also, in order to know how to position your publishing relative to others, you need to do a similar exercise for your key competitors. What are the other organizations in our sector, our direct competitors? What are they publishing? What are they talking about? What appears to be attracting a high degree of traffic or comment for them? What can we learn from that? What content are they using? You want to look at sentiment. What are people saying about you, and what are they saying about your competitors? What is the general tone and perception of your brand, and how can content that accentuates the positives in that be easily generated and published? Web analytics can help with this. If you already have a presence, what what are people looking at and what are they not looking at in terms of what you already have out there in social media? What do they visit? What do they don't visit? From all of these things, you should be able to create an initial first cut of topics, a list of things that you want to publish about, and how easy it is or difficult it will be to produce that content on a regular basis. So that's the purpose of the content audit. What have we got? What do we need? What are other people doing? And what's working and not working? The second stage is fine-tuning that initial list, selecting the topics that are actually going to be the focus of, say, our blog, if that's what we're talking about. So what are the key messages we need to get out there aligned to our business objectives? It's not a case of what would it be nice to create a blog about. The blog has got to serve the strategic objectives of the organization. So cut down the list straight away by getting rid of anything you've come up with that isn't part of your strategic plan. You need to think about who the audience are. You'll have done the audience analysis by this stage earlier in the social media planning cycle. What do they need from us? What are they interested in? And is any of it seasonal? Maybe there's certain types of the year they want to talk about particular issues or topics. If you take a university blog, for example, there'll be times of the year when potential applicants want to talk about particular issues with the university before deadlines appear. So the content at that time of year on the university blog might be different to other quieter times of the year where we want to use content that establishes the reputation and credibility of the university ready for the next step in the cycle. So think about what the audience want to hear at any particular time, what they want to talk to you about, and any seasonality effects. That can help you prioritize what's left on your list. Find the key messages and themes that you need to convey in all of this, and use social media. Twitter's great for this, to do some market research. You know, test little topics, trying to get conversations going with people and see what engages them. And again, this helps you refine and boil down your list into the key topics that you're going to post about. The next step on the roadmap is the content collation stage. Now you need to pull things together and think about what you're going to need. Some people see this as the job of the marketing department. I don't. I think all departments within an organization often have material that they can contribute to a blog, for example, a Facebook page, whatever it might be. So across departmental team, something that goes across all the functions to generate content can be much more effective than just leaving it to the marketers. You might, for certain issues, have to buy in external copy from different sources. This is really important to address any very obvious gaps. If you've got a blog and you've no one to produce one of the key topics you have to be talking about in order to realize your strategic objectives, you might have to get syndicated content, for example. Keep it to the minimum, though, because that isn't you talking. So make sure at least 80-85% of your blog is coming from in-house sources. And again, conduct market research with the content that you are proposing to put out there via different channels to see whether people are going to listen and what they're going to engage with. So this step, it can be about matching the content to the channels you intend to use. And you might have to, at this step, rethink some of your channel choices too. Because you might find, they want to talk about topic A, but not in channel X, they want it through channel Y. So you might have to refine where you're going to publish at this step too. The penultimate step is getting a tone of voice going. It's nice for a blog, as an example still, to have one or two key personalities producing it. It's nice for it to be a team effort, perhaps more than a couple of people. But whatever they do, you want to balance the need to project their individual personalities as contributors with the house style. So you need to think about producing, first of all, some organizational guidelines of what can and can't be said. So everyone is on message. Everyone knows the topics that they should talk about as often as possible. Everyone knows the topics that they should avoid. You want to think about terminology and phrasing and strap lines and produce some guidelines on those too. The idea is to have a house style, a tone of voice, so that the messages, although they may, for different personalities might sparkle through, are going to be consistent with the messages you want to convey, aligned to your strategic objectives. That tone needs to be again matched to the channel. So for example, you might want one of your contributors to be producing very formal white papers on a business topic for publication to LinkedIn. But you might need a much more conversational tone for Facebook or Twitter. So think about the contributors you've got and who's best suited to the different media, because they need different styles of publication within them. Ultimately, this is all about having one voice, the organizational voice, and again, market testing and to refine it if necessary. Finally, you need to have a clear publishing schedule in mind. What's to be published by who and when? And it needs, diarising. Everyone's got to stick to the plan and publish on time. Remember what I said earlier about a blog that hasn't been updated for months is no good. People will just not come back. You need to decide the frequency of publication across different channels, who's going to be responsible for it, and how often and when it is to appear. And you also need performance metrics measured against them. What is each particular Twitter campaign, for example, supposed to achieve? X number of new sales, a 4 or 5 point increase in customer satisfaction with service. What is it supposed to be for? And from the team of people that you have to put all of this different content together and get it out there, who's going to own what and be responsible and held accountable for it? And how are you going to monitor it? So put together the implementation plan as well as a schedule at this stage. And remember, the main channels are very content hungry, so make sure it is possible before you go live to be able to satisfy that hunger. You need to have at least 6 to 8 posts on Twitter every single working day, a couple of status updates on Facebook every single day. If YouTube is your channel, a couple of new videos a week is the absolute minimum you should be aiming for. Or discussions around videos, at very least. And, I don't think I've looked at my LinkedIn for about 3 months. I'm the worst offender. It's because I don't find it a particularly interesting channel. For some people, it's their main channel, though. And so really, I shouldn't have a LinkedIn page because I can't keep up with 3 posts a week. And that really is the absolute minimum. If you, as a professional, if you want people to effectively network with you, and you need to be posting new stuff to establish your expertise at least 3 times a week. So think about these things when planning your schedule. I talk a lot about having effective content and making things interesting. There are some certain hallmarks that you can bear in mind. Effective content to me is that which is focused on our business objectives. Don't just post something because, I find this really interesting, they might like it. Make sure it hits what the organization is trying to do. Make sure its whole style and theme is consistent with your individual or your organization's personality. Depends on the medium and whether it's about you or the organization. Is it true to your values, the message you want to get out there? Think about that. Is the content you're proposing to publish what people actually want to see, or is it just something you want to say? There's nothing worse than having a lot to say that no one actually wants to hear. So think about the market research elements. Use lists and headings to help people identify it. Just like a newspaper. I don't read everything in a Sunday newspaper. It's way, way too big. I skim through it, and it's the headlines that grab my attention. They stop me drowning in the sea of content. Same with the web. So think about headings, straplines, slogans that you can use. Use hashtags, for example, in Google Plus or Facebook or Twitter to help people find the content they want quickly. Make sure, it's all built around a simple proposition. I've got 20 years experience in this sector, so my consultancy will be better than everyone else's. That's the type of thing a professional blog or LinkedIn profile needs to be screaming at the audience. And, all of this is pointless if you're just getting a conversation that doesn't go anywhere. So have a clear call to action. If you're interested in more of this, post a message and I'll get back to you. Email me. Click this link. There has to be something you want the visitor to your channel to actually do that moves the business objectives forward. In other words, effective content is content which gets people to do something. And think about making it engaging. Think about the 3 golden rules of engagement here. You want to be getting visitors to think about things, not just read about them. And the best way to do this is to educate them on something. I go to YouTube whenever I want to learn how to do anything. But it could be in a business context. You want to help people solve problems, and you might be able to sell something, a product, expertise that will help them resolve an issue. So think about that. If people are looking for a solution, they'll be far more engaged in what you have to say. In a business context, just like a business course, I think case studies, mini case studies are really good here. In the past, I worked with this organization, I did this for them, and this was the outcome. That's what we want to hear. We want to say, okay, you say you can do all these things, give me an example. And that leads you to the third element of engaging content. You are an authority figure in your area as a result of engaging content. You're showing leadership and expertise, and that's what the two previous points are all about. So that's about engaging content, solves a problem, shows off past successes, and reinforces your expertise. So content is everything. Content is still king. It is the fuel that drives the engine of our social media. I put together from different sources that simple little roadmap. Customize it to your own particular needs. But those are the stages you need to go through, from the initial audit to the publishing schedule and all of the issues surrounding ownership and content creation and publishing in between. And think about making your content aligned to your business objectives at all times, and then it will be both effective and engaging. Thank you very much.